Hello guys, welcome back to the channel.
How important an issue is immigration to you?
Well, I can't get a job. They come to this country and they just get a job just like that.
So when you apply, what do they say to you?
Well, I've got a criminal record. Assault.
Assault?
Yeah.
How long ago?
Well, I've been out of prison now 3 years now.
And so you blame immigrants rather than your criminal record?
England, mate, and I'm right-wing and I'm proud of it!
If the UK doesn't want immigrants to come here, then why don't they protest for a free Palestine? Because then the Palestinians can thrive in their own land and it will stop the immigrants from coming here. Anyway, I'm so angry. I also can't stand the fact that we are saying stuff like, oh, we bought you curry and we bought you this, that to the UK, so you wouldn't have all these things if it wasn't for us immigrants. We don't have to prove why we should be here. We don't have to give something to justify that we deserve to be here. We don't have to be like, we've generated this much wealth for the UK, we've brought this, that. That doesn't make any sense. We deserve to be here because the UK owes us that. The UK came into our countries, lynched our grandparents, stole our land, pushed us out of our own countries. So anything that we bring to the UK, whether it's wealth, whether it's food, whether it's whatever, it's a gift from us. It's a bonus for you guys, aka the white people. Like, immigrants do not need to contribute to society to prove that they should be here. You should be wanting to give us safety. You should be wanting to give us the world after you took it from us.
Listen, if people want to come here and contribute, let them in. As long as they're not rapists, burglars, robbers, fine, let them in, of course. We're multicultural. Look at the British Empire. India, South Africa. So we got a right and we got an obligation to let some people come in, I think.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're doing fine wherever you are today. This is your presenter, Eugene Stories, and I hope that you're doing fine wherever you are today. So in today's video, there is something which is really happening, something really sinister, happening to the black folks and also happening people from the Muslim community. And I know we've been having the protests from the UK, these issue really going on in the UK, and you want to hear the reasons as to why these people are protesting, especially white people in the UK. And I tried to look into it, try to see what really happened in the UK, or what's the cause of these protests in the UK. Seems like there is misinformation which really happened about the stabbing of people by 3 Muslims, and the protesters, especially the English Defense League, who confronted these people in these mosques and confronted them for this. And so there is a massive outage of people who are going outside there and saying that they don't want immigrants. And you understand the role of immigrants in every country. I know this has been an issue of discussion, what the immigrants has caused to the people in certain kinds of countries. But look, when we're talking about African immigrants, or when you're talking about black immigrants in these places, remember, they played a significant role, both economically, politically, and socially. So we need to really get to see this, because it is not right to just dismiss all immigrants because you feel like you're a little bit inconvenienced about something. Well, I know this is a topic where people will not agree with some things that I'm gonna say, but it is true. We can't just dismiss all immigrants because they have played an important role in these countries. So with me, I understand the situation which is really happening in the UK, and I really want us to watch these videos, and then I'll come back with my commentary in regards to the situation which is in the UK, where race and riots, violence against Africans and Muslims are occurring. This involves a far-right group advocating for expulsion of this community. And you know, this perspective is deeply rooted in misunderstanding of history, particularly regarding the significant contribution of African Muslims to European civilization, including the foundation of what will become the British Empire. So we are also going to look at, in as much as I know today people are getting out there, people are complaining about this. So yeah, I believe that this is something that we need to discuss. So let's watch these videos, and then I'll come back and give my commentary in regards to this. Well, I hope that mostly my presentation are going to be for educational purposes, and they're going to see what are the influence of African moves, what they did to the Europe. This includes their cultural and scientific contribution. This includes agricultural advancements. Well, I think even if it's dismissing or trying to do away with immigrants in the UK, they also need to check the contributions that these people have done to them. So I believe that it is important if we try to look at things in a different way, the contributions that these people have ever done. Now that they are kicking out black people in the UK, because I know they have always been advocating for kicking black people outside the UK. But we also need to see the contributions that these people have given, the contributions that they have provided for the European itself, the influence that they have given the Europe itself. So I don't want to say much, and I want us to watch these videos. I'll come back with my commentary, because this is going to be a little bit educative, because we are going to trace back the African moves and their influence in Europe. And I've talked about it, so let's dive right into the video. And if you're watching this video for the first time, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel, join my membership, and really get to see what I can offer you. Until then, let's dive right into the video.
I'm not interested in people's colour. I'm not interested in anything. The key thing here is if you come and live in this country, you have to adopt the culture here.
Yeah,
I don't want multiculturalism.
You'll find
across the whole of Europe, which has seen mass immigration from particularly North Africa and the Middle East.
Per head of the population,
it is off the scale in terms of the number of people who the number of sexual assaults, violence, stabbings. Sweden is a particular example, but it's happened in Germany, France, Austria, and Italy, and everywhere else.
Well, it's also important to recognise that this is part of where multiculturalism has failed to recognise that actually you can't just paint multiculturalism by different colours. There are different cultures within that, and that would explain why, for example, there are far more Somalis in British prisons than there are Ghanaians. Actually, the fact of the matter is people in this white, middle class, political class, media class are not interested in actually examining the reasons why.
And by the way, they're not ethnic related, they're culturally related. Often they're socioeconomic. They're people who come from, let's face it, some countries which have a culture and a socio-economic background where they're just, they ain't living in the Western 21st century.
Again, there is a word that people will feel squeamish about, but quite literally, when it comes to some of these places, it's tribal. A lot of this is committed because of tribal norms that actually the average English middle-class person has no interest in investigating. You want to know a lot of what goes on in certain parts of the Pakistani community with regards to abuse of children? A lot of it comes down to tribal norms. Nobody wants to talk about it. You can't have proper multiculturalism if people aren't prepared to actually address that.
I don't want multiculturalism because I'm of the view that Western liberal culture is the superior culture in the world. It's the one that gives people equality and freedom, and men and women and gays and straights and black and white can have equal rights.
Which may be why people want to move here.
Yeah, that is a superior culture than any other. I'm sorry, it is.
Yeah.
It's a better, and that's. But so I've got no issue. I'm not interested in people's colour. I'm not interested in anything. The key thing here is if you come and live in this country, you have to adopt the culture here.
Yeah,
I don't want multiculturalism.
You'll find no disagreement from me on that. But this is the question: are there cover-ups? Are people right to be angry? They are, because clearly there is an issue there. But on the subject of mental health, and I know that this is used as a brush to just paint away things.
As if it's okay then.
But there is actually a problem with quite severe mental illness in this country, which also the state is failing to get to grips with. I've mentioned it earlier. I'll say it again. There is a serious, increase in the number of people developing things like paranoid schizophrenia, and how often those are linked to violent crimes, and our inability to deal with that. And something else that is not spoken about is the prevalence of serious mental health conditions within, again, certain migrant communities. Again, that's not discussed either. So it doesn't matter. Is it simply gang crime? Is it terrorism? Is it mental health? It could be any one of those three. The point is, none of it is being addressed, and the response of the state is to just go, don't ask questions about it. That is the problem.
Yes, and also, don't be racist. Just shout bigot and racist at everybody.
I mean, yesterday
now, I think there were some very
sorry.
nasty people at that protest last night. Some of the chants really, and protesting against anyone's place of worship. I'm sorry, wherever the place of worship is, mosque, synagogue, church, I think is unacceptable. I say that as an atheist.
Inflammatory language. They're using the immigration issue as a scapegoat to get attention away from their policy failures. Now, hang on a minute. The immigration issue We have to look at it completely differently. The issues around that people are raising on the doors, the housing issues, the childcare issues, the lack of access to GP, the waiting lists for special needs, children who are bring up to, they're not caused by immigrants. They're caused by lack of investment, by a privatisation agenda. We need to. No, but
it's GP's appointment, and they see a Ukrainian person with a medical card. Isn't it natural that they would feel fed up?
No, it's not natural that they're going to feel fed up. What's happening is Barry and Peter and Pader and Maria's parties at a European level are pushing this idea that immigration is the problem.
I'm sorry.
And they're no, hang on a minute. No, hang on a minute. No, let me finish. Let me finish. And they're not investing. They're not investing in the public services that people need. The issue is not immigrants. The issue is the lack of investment, lack of public investment in these areas like GPs. We had a housing crisis before.
Pact or not?
We are supportive of some parts of the Migration Pact, the solidarity aspects, which we need to see. But the issue I'll come back to, there's 2,000 Ukrainians in this country working in...
Which would be the burden sharing.
Why are we calling immigrants burdens? There are 2,000 Ukrainians... Hang on a minute. There's 2,000 Ukrainians working in construction in this country. Most people who are in direct provision are working. They want to contribute. They are contributing. But we really need to counter. We're going down a danger. They're dividing this country. They're dividing this country. Right. They're creating hate. We're seeing attacks on the streets. We really need to ask, is this the type of country we want?
My dad was a German refugee. My mum was an Austrian refugee. We tried about 5 countries to get us into, got us finally here into the UK. But in 54, so we arrived in 49, 54, I was 9. So it was me and my younger sister, so 9 6-year-old. And we had an inspector, can you believe this, in 1954, come to tea. We had to have cucumber sandwiches and fruit cake to show how English we were. And I hated dried fruit cake. But it sounds funny, but the horror was we had an hour interrogation about who our friends were, what books we read, what games we played. And again, a hostile environment. So take that all forward to where we are today. There's always been hostility to migration in the UK. And there's never been a sensible conversation that particularly in today's context, that talks about the advantages of migration and the reality.
You can't have a sensible conversation about global migration flows because the Conservatives will say, well, Labour believes in uncontrolled migration. Yeah. There's your political divide.
Yeah. No, I mean, to some extent, we're all fighting yesterday's wars still, because this frenzy about immigration doesn't take into account the demographic changes which are sweeping over the developed world. Immigration is going to be a feature of our lives over the next 30 to 50 years. Yeah. It's an absolute necessity if we want to maintain our levels of standards of living and to maintain our ability to care for ourselves and operate our hospitals and all the rest of it.
You don't hate immigrants. You actually just hate being poor. You hate capitalism. You hate that you have to work so hard to just maintain a basic standard of living. I feel like people don't understand how much classism plays into the power structures within our societies, and how much classism and the unequal distribution of wealth affects you every single day. And then politicians and the media and governments convince you to be angry at these scapegoat people who have nothing to do with the situation. Because if the immigrants weren't in your country, if the migrants weren't in your country, who do you think would be doing those low-paying minimum wage jobs? It would be you, other poor people. So, it's not their fault. This is not to excuse racism or bigotry or anything, because that is disgusting. But your anger is misplaced. It is so misplaced. You need to educate yourself and be angry at the right things and the right people in order to change.
How are you feeling tonight about how safe this country is?
Incredibly scared. While I represent Coventry South, I was born and raised in Birmingham, so seeing the images that are coming out of this city and the family WhatsApp groups telling each other to stay in, my sisters wondering if they should go into work, my friends saying that actually they're going to work from home. This isn't a way to be living, where you're fearful of walking outside in your community and perhaps not going into work because you're fearful for your life.
But we have to talk about where this comes from, don't we? I mean, this is not spontaneous. It hasn't just erupted out of nowhere.
No, this is the culmination of decades of front pages that have demonized and scapegoated Muslims, refugees and migrants. This is the product of rhetoric that we see coming from the highest offices in the country our former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, said that we had an invasion of migrants. She also recently said that the Islamists and extremists and anti-Semites were in charge. We've got, politicians, the former MP in Leicester, John Ashworth, who said migrants are able to stay in hotels and stay in them for life. We've had Lee Anderson, who said the animals, referring to the people in Hare Hills in Leeds, and that language, that dehumanisation has been happening for decades. In particular, you've got Nigel Farage, who was recently elected. The language that he's been using about Muslims, saying that they don't share the values of British people. This is where it leads to.
From his family and from his prodigy, we are all now GPs, we're dentists. We probably service about 80,000 patients in the West Yorkshire area directly through his children.
Through your own family?
Yeah.
That's astounding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Through family.
Gosh.
Yeah. So we've made an amazing contribution,
Yes,
which is
so
more
nobody
than...
can possibly question the contribution that you've made to society, obviously.
And the only thing look, I don't like the fact that we constantly have to explain ourselves as immigrants. But what's happened is we've got a brainwashed, not even a working class population, it's a sedentary population now. They just read up and eat up everything on social media, where immigrants are bad, immigrants are the problem. Immigrants aren't bad. Honestly, Vanessa, we will never get to a position where we can integrate, because their definition of British includes white, and I cannot bleach my skin for that, unfortunately.
So probably you might be asking yourself, what are the roles that African moves and what are their influence in Europe, right? So in as much people are trying to kick black people outside the Europe, what are the roles that these people have played? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves. And with me here today, I have the presentation that really shows what the black people have done. So I'm going to talk about cultural and scientific contributions. Yes, black people have played a significant part when it comes to European cultural and scientific contribution, especially in Spain and Portugal. Now look, between the 8th and 15th centuries, African Moors ruled significant portions of the Iberian Peninsula, including modern-day Spain and Portugal. They brought advancement in science, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, and philosophy, just to say. The city of Cordoba, under the Moorish rule, became a center of learning, boasting libraries, universities, and public baths. Talking about architects that black people have provided, or their influence in Europe, Moorish architectural influence can be seen across Europe, particularly in Spain. Landmarks such as the Alhambra in Granada and the Great Mosque of Cordoba. So in as much as we are trying to, people are trying to, especially white people, I'm seeing them, a lot of massives getting out, trying to kick out the Muslims and also Africans in these places, because talking about racism in the UK, this is something which has really been happening, and some people are putting blame to black immigrants who are getting inside there, especially African immigrants, because I know Africans are people who have always been getting out to look for opportunities in different places. And I'm not saying that it is right that they're leaving the country is going to other people's country, but I'm saying that the way that they are being treated, or the way that they are being represented to look like, it is not right. So I'm also going to talk about the agricultural advancements. The Moors introduced new agricultural techniques, crops, and irrigation methods to Europe. This included the introduction of crops such as rice, cotton, and citrus fruits, which had a lasting impact on European agriculture and diet. So mostly the fruits that most of people are seeing today, they are as a result of the Moors, the immigrants who were in the Europe during those times. So even if the people in the UK are trying to kick out black people, they need to check out their contributions, or the things that they have done to this economy. So I'm also going to talk about I'm, I'm also going to talk about educational and intellectual influence. Moorish Spain was a beacon of knowledge during the European Dark Ages. Scholars from across Europe traveled to study Moorish universities, which preserved and expanded upon the knowledge of ancient Greek and Roman texts. This is really important, and you can see the educational influence that they have also shown. The transfer of knowledge from Moors really played a crucial role, in sparking the Renaissance, a period of renewed interest in art, science, and exploration in Europe. Really, really important things that the Moors really did to the Europe, and how are they repaying their descendants today? That's how they're repaying their descendants today. And I understand how misinformation in the internet can really play a great role to shape some things, or how people really look into some things. So let me give you a little bit of historical context of British Empire, because it is important. How was the British Empire formed under the influence of the Moors? You'll ask yourself, because these people have really played a significant role. Remember, I'm just talking about the Moors. I'm not talking about immigrants like Asians. I'm not talking about different immigrants who are today being kicked out of the UK. So the historical context of the British Empire. What role did the Moors played in forming the British Empire? The British Empire began to take shape in the late 16th and 17th century. So during drawing on navigation techniques, scientific knowledge, and agricultural practices, which were earlier influenced by the Moorish contribution. Now you see how the influence of the Moors, their contribution when it comes to formation of the British Empire, how did they influence these people? You really see how it is really important, and what they really did to influence these. So the spread of the empire was facilitated by technological and intellectual advancements that were part and derived from the knowledge preserved and enhanced in the Moors. So, and I know that there have been current misunderstandings, which have been really happening in the UK, which has brought about, these protests. And I know this has been led by some misconception. And what are its modern implications to people? Because today an information is being released online, and people just decide to take up the information even without investigating it. And it turns out that the 3 Muslims who are being accused of stabbing a person, the information was really false. And the moment this really happened, it sparked these demonstrations to people in the UK, especially white people in the UK. And I know the animosity that they have amongst themselves towards other groups, and majority or majorly black people. So it is interesting that we are talking about this. Far-right rhetoric in the UK often ignores these historical realities, promoting a narrative of racial and cultural purity that disregards the multicultural and interconnected history of Europe. They don't want multiculturalism. And you've seen the lady saying that they don't want multiculturalism. They want pure European culture. So I believe that addressing this misconception involves highlighting the positive impact of African and Muslim civilization on European development, emphasizing a shared history of collaboration and mutual benefit. So what are the modern misunderstandings that we are having? And I still believe that we will still have them, and they will still be happening, right? So we have current tensions and you can see people trying to talk about this. So incidences of violence and riots targeting African and Muslim communities in the UK can be seen as continuation of long history of xenophobia and scapegoating. So you know how it goes. So these actions are fueled by economic uncertainties and political rhetoric that exploits fear of the other. So in as much as this is happening, we also need to have educational effort to try to talk to people, to tell them that we can handle this in a different way than just handling this in a given way. So to combat these misconceptions, it is crucial to promote education about the historical contributions of diverse cultures to the European society, because it is not just one. Many European societies brought up what is today what you're saying, So we need to have public discussions, educational programs, and media representation, which can help foster a more inclusive and accurate understanding of the history. So in as much as people are claiming that, we need black people to get out of the UK, they need to look at their contributions. What contributions, have these people done to ensure the growth, the development, the technology, really, really important, the contribution. But now they are turning a blind eye to that, and they want to kick out black people outside these places. It's really crazy, right? So this is your presenter, Jindoc Stories, and again, a reminder, if you're watching this video for the first time, you can really consider subscribing to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.